It was supposed to be just another quiet night in suburban Georgia. Blue and red lights lit up the rearview mirror. A young black couple, driving home after dinner, pulled over without question. No speeding, no broken taillight, no reason at least, not one that made any sense. The officer approached with that rehearsed swagger, hand near his holster, eyes scanning the car like he'd already decided something was wrong. But what started as another pointless traffic stop took a sharp turn the moment he looked at the driver's face and recognized him. Now, the question isn't why they were stopped. It's what happens next. It started like 100 nights before It Quiet Streets. Headlights cutting through the dark. A couple driving home after dinner. The man had his hand resting lightly on the wheel, music low, his partner scrolling through her phone beside him. No rush, no worry. Then came the lights. Red and blue in the rear view. He pulled over. Calm but tense. That reflex built over years. Signal. Slow down. Hands visible. He hadn't been speeding. The car was clean. But that didn't always matter. The officer didn't say much. Just asked for ID. Said the license plate looked off. Then it was the window tint. Then the vague claim about a robbery. Suspect no specifics. Just enough to justify suspicion. None of it made sense. But it never really had to. She stayed still. Eyes forward, lips pressed tight. He kept his voice even, no sudden movements. Another squad car pulled up. Back up. The first cop circled the car like he was hunting for anything. Glanced into the back seat, tapped on the trunk with his flashlight, asked if they'd been drinking, where they were coming from, where they were going. Questions that had nothing to do with anything. The kind you ask when you've already decided the answer. Then he looked at the man again. A longer look. His face changed. Slowed, like something had just clicked. Recognition. He took a step back. Hand moved off his holster. He radioed something in, low and fast. And suddenly, the tone shifted. Not out of guilt, not out of respect, but calculation. Because now he knew who he'd pulled over. And everything that came next would have to be handled very, very carefully. He didn't apologize, didn't explain. Just walked back to his cruiser. Said something to the second officer, who glanced at the couple with a flicker of confusion, maybe even regret. Then silence. Minutes passed. The man stayed in the driver's seat, still as stone. The woman barely breathed. They knew better than to speak first. When the officer returned, his whole vibe had shifted. Stiff smile, forced politeness. He handed back the license with both hands, like it meant something now. Then, without meeting their eyes, he said they were free to go. No citation, no warning, not even a fake one. Just gone. They didn't move right away. He waited until the cop cars were fully out of sight. Only then did he start the engine. Still no words between them, but the air was heavier now, not with fear, something else, something unresolved. Back at home, he closed the door and locked it without thinking. She poured herself a glass of water with shaking hands. Then, finally, he pulled out his phone. A message had come in during the stop. They know, be careful. He stared at it for a long time, then looked at her. They recognized me, he said, voice low. She didn't ask how. She already knew. Because this wasn't just a traffic stop. It was a warning. And whoever they were running from, wasn't done yet. The silence in the house was oppressive, thick enough to suffocate. He paced the floor, his mind racing, thinking through every move, every word that had been exchanged. But there was something bigger at play here, something beyond a routine stop. He could feel it in his bones. She set the glass down, wiped her palms on her jeans, and met his eyes. What do we do now? He didn't have an answer. Not yet. But he knew that whatever was happening, it was bigger than just them. That message. They know. Be careful. He stared at the phone again, running the name through his mind. Only one person could have sent it. Someone from his past. Someone he hadn't heard from in years. He didn't want to think about it, didn't want to dive back into the mess he'd tried to leave behind. But the longer he stood there, the more he realized he had no choice. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, but deep down, he wasn't sure of anything anymore. They had been trying to escape their old lives, to leave the past behind. But now it was clear. The past had found them. He pulled the keys from his pocket and glanced at her. "I need to make a call. We'll figure this out." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Just be careful." He stepped outside, the cool night air hitting him like a slap to the face. The neighborhood was quiet again. Too quiet. as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. He dialed the number. It rang twice, and then the voice on the other end spoke. "You're in trouble now, aren't you?" The familiar voice made his stomach drop. It had been years since he'd heard it, but it still carried that same weight and edge that meant business, no time for pleasantries. "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. The voice on the other end chuckled, but it wasn't a laugh. It was a warning. "Don't play dumb. They're watching. They've been watching you for a long time. You've made a mistake by coming back here." His mind raced. They? Watching? What was going on? Who was this really about? But before he could ask, the voice cut through the air again, sharp. "Get out of town, now, before it's too late." The line went dead. He stood there for a moment, the phone in his hand, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But there was no time. He had to move. He turned and headed back inside. She was waiting for him, eyes already full of questions. "We have to leave. Tonight." Her face paled. "What happened?" "I don't know yet, but it's not over." They rushed to pack their things, not saying a word. The house was no longer a safe place. Within minutes, they were ready, preparing to leave. But the feeling of being watched, of something lurking in the shadows, wouldn't fade. As they reached the door, a noise outside the house and near the gate. A figure passed under the streetlight, quick, but somehow deliberate, as if searching for something. He looked at her, then swiftly grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the car. No words, just movement. They drove through empty streets, headlights cutting through the dark. The sense of running from something too big, too powerful. They didn't know if they could escape, but just as they left the residential area, their car was blocked again. The shadow of the police returned. He sighed. "Damn it, not again." He looked at her. The soft light from the headlights cast over her face, and he saw the worry etched on it. Had they really run from their past all this time? Or was it just an illusion? But this time, it wasn't just another cop. The person stepping out of the patrol car wasn't anyone unfamiliar. He recognized him instantly, though it had been years since they'd crossed paths. It was someone from his past, someone he had left behind, one of the reasons he had to run. And now, here he was, standing in front of him, smiling, eyes full of challenge. "You can't run forever, can you, old friend?" the man said, his voice low, thick with mockery. And in that moment, he understood. Everything the life he had built, the escape he had sought, was just a trap from which he couldn't escape.